I would say good evening. I would say good afternoon or good morning if we have people from USA or Canada. I'm pleased today to have the pleasure today to welcome Pierre Weissgerber and Claire Flammang from the Ministry of Education of Luxembourg. And they will today present a big project, big national project, which the name is eduPass, which is a national approach to open badges in Luxembourg. So Pierre and Claire, please, the floor is yours. And we will let some time at the end of the presentation for the questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric and Mina, for the invitation and all the technical setup. We are really pleased, Pierre and me, to show our experiment here in Luxembourg. As I told the other time, I discovered open badges in one high school here in Luxembourg, and Nicolas Negretti is also here. Thank you for being there. Where I discovered open badges, and it was really a very interesting moment because I saw immediately the potential of open badges. So we are here to present you the work of the working group Digital Sciences. We are working for the script, and the script, yes, it's a very long word. It's actually the coordination service of the Ministry for research and innovation, as in pedagogical fields, but also in technological fields. And we have the mission, the Digital Science Group, to create a new discipline, a new subject for high school regarding the events that are taking place in primary school, and we have to make all this will to train competencies and more also digital competencies in schools. We have to look out also for high schools to have this framework working in classes. So we launched last year the pedagogical guides to media literacy in schools. That was quite just before the lockdown, where a group had a look at the DigComp of European Schoolnet and analyzed this compass, this framework for digital literacy, to make it a Luxembourgish version for our schools. And yes, you see there the picture, Medienkompass. You can have a look at it. It's available in German and in French, not in English, unfortunately, on edumedia.lu. So you can have a look. And there are 5 fields of competencies, and you see on the left side the 5 areas: information and data, communication and collaboration, creation of content, data privacy, and creative work. And last year in Luxembourg, in Cycle 4, that are the 2 last years in a primary school, there was a pilot launched that is called coding. So coding has taken place in Luxembourgish primary schools in the field of mathematics, and it will be extended to all the other fields of competencies from the first year on, and now there is a working group who are working on this to make all to get the coding, but also all the other fields in the daily business of school. And so we get the mission of the minister to imagine the future of it in secondary school. And yes, as Claude Maige, our minister, said, digital sciences is the school's response to the digitalization of our lives and our working environment. So it's on the one hand a very political subject, and on the other hand a real need of our society to engage also the teachers in the needs of the 21st century skills. The digital sciences can be resumed to 6 topics. Pierre, perhaps you can... yeah. So the new discipline will focus on 6 main themes, and the challenge is there to not only provide knowledge, but also technical know-how, and also the ethic and moral approach of digitalization. So here you have the overview of the 6 topics: my digital world and me and I. So what is my daily use of digital technology? The second one is wider, the World Wide Web, its web and me. So there is also the question of cybersecurity, also of critical thinking. The third one is, do you speak IT or informatics? My language, their language. There, the question of the data and the translation of human communication into technology is discussed and experienced. The fourth one is the game. If it is in real life or digital, if it is alone or together, a whole program in two ways. The first way, the entertaining side of it, but also the programming side. So am I able to program myself a game, perhaps? The fifth field is the robot, partner for better or worse. What is robotics? What are real robots, or what are Pixar or Disney robots? And the last field is yes, AI. Is there such a thing as a machine that is smarter than me? Is that possible? What is artificial intelligence? And what is my game part in the whole system? So there you have the 6 fields. And yes, as you imagine probably, it's not only about knowledge. It's not about a glossary that you have to learn, and it's also a matter of human skills. And we had the problem, Pierre, yes, of the assessment. The question of the assessment. We are very used to assessment. In Luxembourg, we have the system of 60 points. So if you have 30, it's okay. You can chill and cool down. But if it's under 30, then you are definitely a bad student. And yes, it's all the question of the product. An assessment, it is always like a capture of a moment, and is very far away of real skills our students have. So the main challenge of this discipline, this subject, is to have the balance between the 3 parts: knowledge, technical know-how, and savoir-être. I couldn't find an English word, but perhaps you have one for it. I didn't find it, but it's basically really this human and moral part, ethical part of all the digitalization. Yes, Pierre?
Okay, so I should take it from here now?
Yes, I can just make the transition if you want. And as we have this challenge of this balance of the three parts of humankind and also of this subject, we were really sure that assessment with points where a product is assessed was not enough for us, and in that way Open Badge Passport offered us really a possibility and yes, a chance to go for competencies and also capture a process more than a product. And now, Pierre, it's your part.
Okay. Claire was the first person to show me what open badges were. And I was directly fascinated by the idea of the open badges. And I immediately told my boss that we need an open badge factory account. So I started making the badges for my school, and we immediately started testing the badges in different fields in my school. But immediately a problem arose, and that's the problem of the email address that you need to create an open badge passport. Because we also tested some subjects of the new course Digital Sciences, and it was always the same problem. Our students arrive at a very young age, and often they don't have access to a private email, or they have forgotten the password to the private email. So we needed a solution for that problematic situation. And that's when I contacted the help form on Open Badge Factory homepage with my needs, and Eric responded to me that we should meet and that we should discuss the matter. It is problematic because we have a very diverse audience. We have students in SATIAM that are little informatic geniuses, and we have also people that have problems with computer literacy and no access to the personal email address. And a problem of the new digital science course is that we have a minor public. So the parents are often worried about the information that the children share on the internet. So the solution that we brought up was to use something that we have in our country. That's the IAM, Gestion des Identités et des Droits d'Accès. And what is an IAM account? It's a type of SSO connection. It's a unique identifier that every student and every teacher has, and it identifies the person behind it. So we already have systems in place in Luxembourg where you can use your IAM account to log in, like the Office 365 accounts that are linked with IAM. Often the iPads are linked with the IAM accounts. So it was the pathway that we chose to work with Open Badge Factory to implement a system so that when the student knows his IAM account, everything is created for him automatically in the background, and he has his account ready to go. There's a whole range of information that this IAM connection delivers, this single sign-on information. It's first name and last name that are very important for the creation of the account. It's also which school they are in and which class they are in, if it is needed. That it's something I will discuss later on, because we will probably need it for a future project. There's an email address associated with the SSO connection immediately. Each student automatically has such an address, and it can be used to receive badge information. And there are a few, or I will say a lot of other information possible that we can exploit later on, perhaps in future developments of eduPass. So I sat down with Eric and we discussed for several hours, and finally we, when the financement was cleared, we chose to name it eduPass.lu, because it is a national space identical to Open Badge Passport with nearly the same functionalities, but focused on our national scale. It has several advantages. It is secure and individual to the student, and it is adaptable to different branches, school or institutions. And that could be a point that will become very important in the future, because we intend to gather all our schools together in eduPass so that we have a secured environment to distribute the badges in the country, and also to let other institutions take part in eduPass as cultural institutions, museums and others. And it is linked to different open badge factory accounts. So each school can still individually make and distribute their badges, but there's also a national scale of creation and distribution of badges from the script, for example. And we designed it in that way that it will be flexible for future use cases if you want to integrate perhaps or make it even bigger than what we see for the foreseeable future. And this is eduPass, but I can show it here if the connection is still there. So this is my eduPass account, and it has several advantages. The advantages are, for example, that we have the spaces that we will use in the future. Here you can see that I'm now in the digital science space, but schools have started to arrive. That's my school here that has arrived at eduPass 2. And we will take it from there and try to make it bigger. Here you see one of the problems. These are all our secondary schools that are placed everywhere all over the country, and we have to gather them together in some space. At first, we had a little problem because there were some people that already started their own open badge factory accounts with open badge passport, and for the moment we are trying to explain that it is a good idea that everything will be grouped nationally in eduPass, and nearly everyone that I talk to is finds it a very interesting idea. Just to tell you a little bit what we try to gather with eduPass, these are the most recent numbers I found. That's our student population. So in the primary school, we have all around 50,000 students, and in secondary school, we have 40,000 students. So when you take everything together with the international program, we will have eduPass in the foreseeable future. And if other subject matters follow the same path of badges of around 100,000 students that will probably use eduPass. But for the foreseeable future, with the new course Digital Literacy or Digital Sciences, you can see the numbers over here. We have, when we gather everyone that is for the moment targeted with digital science, we will gather around 15 to 16,000 students in eduPass just with digital sciences. If every school implements the new course, that will be done from next year on, Claire, if I'm right. Huh? Yes, and we will need 3 more years until everyone participates in the new course. That I already showed you, that are the different spaces, and there we hope to gather all the schools in Luxembourg in the same eduPass space, and also the museum and other cultural institutes. And just to show you if it is a success for the moment, that was a first print screen I took at the very start of eduPass. So when it just launched, we quickly had around 300 members, and I just looked before the presentation at the numbers again. And now we have around 700 members and nearly 1,000 badges distributed in eduPass. So it's starting to get bigger, and the people start to understand, the teachers need also to understand what we want from them, because as Claire already mentioned, we have the problem that we have the points until 60, and we also have the badges now, and we are still looking at some synergies between the two to get more interested in the badges. And I think for my part that a lot of badges will be distributed at the end of the academic term. Yes. So the future developments, what I already discussed with my boss and with Eric, will be several factors that we need, because we have several problems that still persist in eduPass and are not ideal for the moment. So for the moment, we have a closed structure because our public is minor. And we have the same situations for teachers and the pupils, which is not ideal, because the idea behind the open badges is that you can show the world what you have achieved. So a third question that is very important to me, because we have the problem in other fields: what happens with the badges when the student leaves public education? He cannot lose all his badges when he has finished his public education. So an idea that we have that will be implemented further down the line, because the information is astonishingly not ready in the SSO, is the automatic recognition of the date of birth of the user that logs in. So the system will know in the future when someone logs in, if he is 16 or more, or if he is a teacher, and it will be an automatic opening of eduPass, and it will be there will be the possibility to export the badges, or even to log it with your own private open badge passport, so that you don't lose everything that you have achieved. That was the first development I chose to discuss with Eric. But we soon realized that we have the problem that in the SSO informations, the date of birth is not ready for the moment. It will be ready in 3-4 months, and then we can perhaps make this development. The most important development for me in eduPass will be the badge validation and the issues that we have for the moment with the badges. As you all know, I think if you follow badges closely, there are badges that are distributed automatically. We have some badges in digital sciences that are distributed automatically, just so the student knows that he has started a certain access of the new course. And there are also badges that have badge applications after review. And these after review badge applications, the students have to give a link to a homepage they have made, or send a picture of an exercise they made. So the teacher has to validate the proofs that the students gives to the teacher. For the moment, we have a system in the background. I have tried to show it here. That is complicated. So if we make a new badge application, we input all the schools, line after line, we input the schools, and the student has to make, when he applies for a badge, the right choice of school. I just received before the presentation 3 mails of teachers, mail messages telling me that they have to validate badges of students that aren't in their classes. That's because the students chose the wrong school in the drop-down list. So we have to resolve this problem. And if they choose correctly, for the moment, each school is represented by a whole bunch of email addresses. So all the teachers that teach digital sciences in a certain school receive all the badge applications from all the students. That's the best system we managed to find for the moment. But in a foreseeable future, we would like to implement, with the help of Eric and his team, we would like to implement the validation by the teachers, but not on a list of students sent by email system, but based on the information that are already delivered by the Fichier Lab. That's a system that provides all the information you need of students and classes and teachers associated with certain students and certain classes. So the perfect idea after development would be that the system automatically assigns the teachers and the students in eduPass and intelligently knows which is paired with whom. And so the whole validation process could be done in eduPass. So our idea is to have a section of eduPass where the teacher clicks on it and sees his students that applied for a certain badge and can do the validation of only his students. Furthermore, there should be a little bit of data, how many badges were distributed, which badges were applied, which student has which percentage of a milestone badge, etc., etc. So we would require an additional tab, and the validation shouldn't take place anymore in Open Badge Factory at all, but should be all in eduPass, so that we regroup all the teachers and all the validation process in eduPass. That's the most important thing, and that will be the things we will work on the mostly. And third is the badges and the certification. As Claire already told you, we are still a little bit locked in with our certification process, and that's a bulletin d'études. That's the document that the students receive at the end of the term with the points and all the stuff important for him to know if he succeeded his academic year or not. And a lot of people still like to have it on paper or at least as a PDF. So a final idea would be, when the class teacher prepares this document, that there is an automatic creation of a PDF document in the background, finalizing the report card for each student. And this document should contain at least the badges with the QR code, so that the people at home that are perhaps not so digitally applied could scan the QR code and at least see what badges their child has achieved during the academic year. So that are the three main points of main developments that we foresee together with Eric's team. And we hope that eduPass will grow and perhaps outgrow digital sciences, but for the moment we are happy to bring these two together to give it a good start of the two subjects in Luxembourg. Yes.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Thank you, Claire, for this very interesting presentation. For me, it's very interesting because I can say that in all Open Badge Factory history, we have the first dedicated passport, which is totally connected with an SSO system. So as everyone has seen here, it's not only SSO, but here there is also a very systematic and very well-planned approach of not not issuing badges, but also having the passport as a validation space, which is very interesting because because we have to develop in the passport side this new, let's say, tools for building, I would say, the typology of the schools of Luxembourg. And I'm sure that it's very interesting for other customers. And having this clear, let's say, connection between the teacher and the students. And so it's a way to have to put badges in action and to have a decentralization also of the badge issuing process. So it's from a pedagogical point of view very interesting, and also from, I would say, logistical point of view also quite challenging, but we accept the challenge.
Thank you. We are really very happy about that, about you accepting the challenge.
Yeah, we accept the challenge because I think that we have in other countries already, let's say, school networks or academy in France that are very interesting in what you are doing with eduPass, and I think it will be an interesting, I wouldn't say prototype, but example of what can be done with badges at the school
prototype
level.
I find very nice.
Yeah.
But as Pierre said, we are very aware of the fact that the Open Badge Factory philosophy is not in the framework of a discipline in school, a subject that is mandatory, and we really hope that it will very soon get out of this. It is for us yes, a chance to take with digital sciences, to go on this process side of learning and doing and growing. And as Pierre said, also we have one cultural institution, Casino Forum d'Art Contemporain, who is willing. They are also I guess they are working on one badge for teachers who are coming to their conferences on AI, for example. And yes, it would be really cool. And we have, Pierre knows it, we have a huge mind map with lots of other partners in crime that could be partners in crime. But we have to be sure in the first step that it works on a national level. And we are really excited to see how it will develop.
Now, if I can comment that, I think it's very important to have a clear, well-defined context at the beginning. So, as I say often in French, voir grand mais commencer petit. So, start. You should have a big view, but you should start with a clear context. So this is media literacy. It's, in my opinion, a very good proof of concept. But now, what is interesting in your approach, that you are not approaching badges only with Open Badge Factory, the idea of badging people. So you are approaching from the passport, from a community point of view. And this community point of view will give you the possibility to extend what you are doing. Because as you say, there will be schools interested by other subjects, and it will grow a community. And what is interesting, that this community will be also a recognizing community. So what is interesting in your setup is that basically validation is not centered in Open Badge Factory, but it will be decentralized, and it will be done where the teachers are teaching. So the teacher will be able to recognize the students in their context. So that's why it's a very interesting approach. And so we have many customers who are basically starting with Open Badge Factory and coming later with spaces in Open Badge Passport. Because this is spaces can be a way to scaffold basically what they are doing. But your approach is good because you are starting from the community, and then you have the connection, of course, with the SSO and Open Badge Factory and all the use of the passport easy. So it's also very interesting to see that you have already quite many badges and quite many users. Even you started, let's say, few months ago.
We have here, I see there is also Caroline who made a comment, and also Nicolas. Perhaps Nicolas, I would really be pleased to let you present your badges, because you were, I guess, the very first ones in Luxembourg. That would be really nice. And then Caroline, of course, we would be glad to hear about the integration of open badges.
So, you want Nicolas to start? Or? Please. We can't hear you. Not yet. We can't hear you. Can you hear us?
I think he can hear us, but we can't hear him. Okay, we can't hear you. So I see that your microphone is basically on, but I don't see any signal in the icon. So it can be that it's off on your computer.
No, it should work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good. So I was not prepared to present. That's why even the microphone was not prepared. But yes, I'm very proud that we could introduce open badges to Luxembourg and to Claire with Philippe Petitqueux and Samuel Brult. He was the second Frenchman, because we had a European connection, and so we work with Normandy a lot. So we had this workshop, and after that we also tried to make a concept. What do we want to achieve with badges? And it was clear for all of us that this concept was fitting perfectly for a school like ours. And so our first batch we introduced was also the kind of digital responsibility for the students. So they get courses about cybersecurity, and because each student was be given an iPad as in a one-to-one model, and so to have some certifications that students know all the rules and know what to do with these kind of devices. We wanted to introduce this first batch, but since then we made a lot. We did not issue a lot of batches, but we made a lot of thinking. What do we want clearly to badge, and not to make too many batches which are basically worthless after. So, and this process is nearly finished, and we wanted to roll out our batches during this year, but now with eduPass, we are a little bit, we will first see how you do it, and maybe if we can cooperate more intensely, or instead of doing our own thing. So we are now a little bit on the hold and wait how we can best implement it. On the other hand, we introduced also open batches in another international cooperation with countries like Germany, Austria, Estonia, and there we have also a project, and I showed this concept of open badges and made some guidelines for them, and we are trying to put it also on European level. We have a big network of 25 countries, all agricultural schools, and we want to introduce it also there. And so maybe this will go even further on, but it's a process which just started.